support comes from the St. Louis Chamber Chorus. Season 68 concludes at John Burroughs at 3 p.m. on May 26th with the United Nations commissioned Voices of Today by composer Benjamin Britten, featuring youth and adult singers. Tickets at chamberchorus.org.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha.
You know, when he started climbing arches and taking on the Supreme Court and unveiling prophets.
Community activism and music both run deep in the St. Louis area. There's also a long history of them working together. To celebrate that legacy and bring attention to current issues of social and economic inequity, 5 local musicians wrote several original songs. And that music, commissioned for a project called the Solid Sound Collective, will premiere on June 2nd at Work and Leisure in Midtown St. Louis. Joining me in studio to talk about that project is Colin McLaughlin, producer and member of the Solid Sound Collective. Colin, great to have you on the show again.
Elaine, thank you so much for having me back.
Let's start with the basics of this. What is Solid Sound Collective?
Yes, the Solid Sound Collective is, we're gearing up for a concert on June 2nd where we're showcasing a collection of new compositions of music. It's the culmination of a 6-month-long music residency with some of the most amazing musicians and composers and music producers that I know across the city. We've got myself as well as Anita Jackson, Ryan Marquez, Alicia Revé, and Tim Moore. All of whom are members of the Solid Sound Collective, and we're also partnering with as creative producers on the project.
Mm-hmm. Now, why was this project started in the first place?
This project was started so I'm here as a representative of an organization that's called the Action Art Collaborative, which is a team of multidisciplinary St. Louis artists, and we produce community-engaged theater and music projects. And our first project was a play called Action, based on a true story about Mr. Percy Green II. And when we worked on this play, the play was this magnet for artists that want to use their platform to advocate for social justice and social change. And 2 of the musicians that worked on this play were Ryan Marquez and Anita Jackson, who I mentioned. They wrote an original theme song, and we were just so inspired by their heart and their talent that for our second-year project, we wanted to pull in more musicians. And so those musicians that I've mentioned, over the course of their residency, we've connected them with activists and organizers and community elders from all across the city. So the music is unique to St. Louis. It speaks to the social and economic justice movement here in the city.
And were there some of, in terms of getting the people together, did you already have musicians in mind, or were there recommendations that were made for those who would ultimately become part of the project?
Yeah, so we had musicians in mind because we knew of a group of musicians who were already using their platform to advocate for social change, musicians that are aware of the systemic racism and poverty in St. Louis, and musicians who are also aware of the incredible local legacy of resistance and people movements. So we had a group of musicians we thought of that were kind of already in touch, but we wanted to encourage even more collaboration and partnerships.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting because as far as you go, and then the couple of guests that we have for the rest of this conversation, you're all transplants to St. Louis. Is that something that is also true of some of the other members, or is there sort of a combination of those who are natives to this area and those who have come to learn about the community activism here in the St. Louis region?
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, Elaine. The other members of the Solid Sound Collective and the other producers that we're partnering with, like my friend Kathy Bentley, Michael Tran, and Delaney Piggins, a lot of them are from St. Louis originally, so I think it is kind of a mixture.
Mm-hmm. So to give us a taste of what the sound part of Solid Sound Collective is, let's hear a bit of one of the commissioned songs that folks will hear at the June 2nd premiere at Work and Leisure. This is Stand Tall by St. Louis-based producer, songwriter, arranger, and vocalist Ryan Marquez.
You will truths misconstrued. Enough information, too much explaining. The news don't make sense, seems more like entertainment.
Don't be afraid, head in the game. Stand strong, don't sacrifice, persevere. Stand tall, we will fight. We will fight.
Unsung hero, climbing arches, breaking barriers, unveiling prophets, taking action, the supreme way, making history every damn day. Quick to tell ya what his view is from the Compton of St. Louis. Guerrilla force to his core, peace economy projects, justice for ya. If you're unsure who I mean, I'm talking about Mr. Percy Green, slaying bigots for all to see, staging stickings for equality, a natural born revolutionary. He ain't gonna stop till we all free, building this dream like Dr. King. You feel me?
Yeah. All of that.
Don't be afraid.
And that's a sample of Stand Tall, one of the songs commissioned for the Solid Sound Collective. And joining us from LA to talk about it is the song's creator, Ryan Marquez. Ryan, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Thanks so much for having me, Elaine. It's great to be here.
So I want to start by talking about connections, because I think that is very clear from the sample that we heard. There is connection in terms of time, in terms of purpose, place. You know, we noted that you're in LA. There's a line about the Compton of St. Louis. And then there's the Percy Green II. Talk a little bit about how connections really played a role in the way that you wrote this piece. Oh, so we're going to actually talk a little bit about that process, the process of putting that song together, Colin. Tell me about what that entailed.
Sure, absolutely. So when we sat down with our group of musicians in the Solid Sound Collective, we talked to them about social causes close to their heart, to connect them with members in the community to commission their new music. And right from day one, Ryan Marquez was like, I want to talk to Percy Green II.
And for him, when I spoke with Ryan, he said that he was really excited. Hopefully we'll get him back on the line. We're trying to reconnect with him. But he said that it was this moment of, wow, I get to talk with such a major figure in not only the local activism scene, but someone whose work is known outside the region too.
Yes, absolutely. This is someone who is on the world stage of activism and connecting, the gap between what we believe. For myself, I'm always trying to close the gap between, like, here's what I believe, here are my values, and then here's how I live, here are my actions. And Percy Green is someone with no gap between, if he believes it, he's acting on it constantly. He's constantly pushing for change, for going on 70 plus years of activism. It was a real joy to sit down with him. And Percy Green II and Ryan Marquez are both so philosophical and analytical in their thinking. So it was really wonderful to see what came out of that new relationship.
So another guest we have in our studio also wrote a song that will be featured on June 2nd when Solid Sound Collective premieres all of its music. And this artist has produced a song called Anna's Song, and it takes a simpler voice plus acoustic guitar approach.
Faced to make a tough decision, leave my elders for the betterment of my son, for generations to come. Hopes for better, the gain of safety, a chance to make our wildest dreams come true, especially for you. The chills that I feel when I hear the song they're playing, it speaks to me. Oh, say, can you see a rush of memory? The chills that I feel when I hear the song they're playing, it speaks to me. With much sacrifice and patience, my new country, my son, and me.
And that was Anna's song, written by St. Louis-based artist Revé. Now, Revé, this song very much embodies people and organizations connecting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was a perfect pairing, I think, with our friends at MICA. MICA stands for the Migrant and Immigrant Community Action Project. They are located on Cherokee Street, and they do fantastic work helping individuals in their process to becoming American citizens. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is pro bono work to help these people. And and they were very, very gracious to allow us to come into their space. They were open, and we did an interview with Ana Reyes, and she shared her story with all of us.
Mm-hmm. And had you been familiar with the group before this project?
So not at all. I, like many musicians, know of the lovely musical things that happen on Cherokee Street, and that there are places you can get your instrument repaired. But I was not aware that MICA was also on that same block.
Mm-hmm. So we do have Ryan back on the line. So this question about connections, Colin had explained that, Ryan, you were paired with Percy Green II to interview him. And there's the connections also in time and purpose. What was that like for you to get to speak with Percy Green? And how did it lead to the song that you put together?
Yes, it was absolutely an honor and humbling experience to converse one-on-one with Percy and just get an opportunity to connect with him on a personal level and ask some intimate, philosophical, spiritual, and just in-depth questions about his life and his work. And as, Percy is such a legendary civil rights leader, not only in St. Louis, but in the world. And, his acts of protest that manifested as scaling the arch, in support of hiring more Black workers as it was being constructed, as well as taking on McDonnell Douglas all the way to the Supreme Court for being fired for racial purposes, and also the 1968 unveiling of the unmasking of the veiled prophet. Mm-hmm. That was, really inspirational and influential, and to be able to sit down with him and talk to him and to just hear his wise words and to hear, about his story and all of the amazing, inspiring work that he's done to advocate for, those who are being discriminated against. And it was really an honoring experience.
Yeah. And, community, too, was part of your song. There were a number of voices on the track itself, as well as some sampling. Was there something in particular that made you decide to take that route?
Yeah, just absolutely, music is very much a conversation, between, the presenter and the audience, between the musicians amongst themselves, between the intention of the music itself, between music itself. It's a very spiritual thing. And I was very inspired, by Percy's words and being in the spirit that we were having an actual conversation. I wanted to include his voice and his words and really make it a part of the music. And then, I wanted the music to reflect the spiritual nature and the energy of original music that is born and marinated here in the confluence of the Cool, where the Missouri and the Mississippi rivers meet, with the rich tradition of blues and jazz influence, as well as some soul, gospel, and hip-hop. So that was really where my inspiration came from.
Mm-hmm. An amalgamation of many things. And there's a lot of nodding that's happening in the studio right now that you can't see, but is definitely occurring here. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we will continue this conversation and hear a little bit more music and insights. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. Let's return to our conversation with the Solid Sound Collective, which is a project that celebrates the St. Louis region's legacy of music and community activism. They're doing that through original commissioned songs, and we've been talking with Ryan Marquez, Colin McLaughlin, and Revé, all locally based musicians who are part of the Solid Sound Collective. Now, before the break, we were talking about Ryan's song Stand Tall, and we were discussing voices. Now, there is a very specific voice that is part of that song, and that is the well-known St. Louis activist who is essential to not just this song, but also to many stories. It's Percy Green and Stand Tall.
Misinformation in the wrong hands is dangerous, but who defines what is misinformation? Information and misinformation is in the eyes of the beholder. It's a matter of how that is being defined. And then, of course, once it is defined, it's a matter of how it is used. That's what I fear.
And that St. Louis activist Percy Green II featured in Ryan Marquez's original song, Stand Tall. So, Ryan, when I was preparing for this segment, one of the people on our producing team asked me where that audio of Percy Green was coming from. And from what I understand, it is also original. Where did it come from?
Yeah, absolutely. That came from a personal conversation that I was able to have with Percy Green, as well as Colin was present. And, that was really the intention behind, the inspiration for the song was just to get in a space with Percy and to just kind of ask him some questions and let him talk, and then kind of, see what jumped out and what felt like it was the story that was wanting to be told. And, on the Stand Tall track, it also features Revé on the vocals as well. So, I brought the song with some of the voice samples of Percy to a writers meeting that we had and just kind of showcased it. And Revé, she was inspired to create the vocal singing hook, the chorus, if you will. And then I was, just, how it goes. It's like once you kind of start in a direction and you plant the seed, my creative process is very much just being a discipline of the creative flow and being a student to letting the music present itself and just listening for what is already there and letting the song reveal itself, and just being a steward to do the work to kind of get out of the way and let the song be what it already is.
Mm-hmm. It really underscores the power that comes from people being together and collaborating. And that community aspect, Revé, is also part of what you experienced. When you were interviewing Anna, you were doing so with somebody else in the room, kind of for other purposes, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Anna is a native Spanish speaker, and I am not. And so we enlisted the help of our friend Steven, who works with Micah, and he's been on this journey with Anna from beginning to end, and it's great. They have this lovely relationship. And so he was there to translate because I didn't feel confident in my Spanish, and she didn't feel that confident in her English. Mm-hmm. And we actually, Colin and I just met with her this past week, no translator, and we were just having a great time together in the park, working on another song that will premiere on June 2nd.
Okay, and what is that other song?
So that other song is called The Golden Cage. It is inspired once again by Anna's journey, but this one's a little bit more lighthearted. The joy aspect is highlighted of getting what you've worked so hard for and dreaming this amazing dream, and then what's the next step now that all that has been accomplished. Mm-hmm. So that is what Anna helped me write. It is bilingual, and yeah, we're excited to share it.
Yeah. Is there anything in Anna's song, which we heard earlier, that came directly out of the conversation that you had with her as you were going through that interviewing process?
That entire song is about her. I have absolutely nothing to do with it except for the fact that I wrote it and constructed it, but it is entirely her story. And I think a ton of us, especially those who are just like Native born Americans, think we understand what it's like to come to this country as a transplant and as an immigrant, and we think we know the journey. And I will say, because of so much misinformation, there's a lot we don't know. And so to hear firsthand of someone's experience is eye-opening, but also empowering, so that as a person who lives here, what can I do to better this experience for other people?
And what are some of the things that, that you don't know, that you did not know beforehand? Well, what stood out to you?
Because we all think a green card is the answer to everything, right? And it's just not. Things don't stop with a green card. Something I walked away I didn't know in the beginning, and I walked away with understanding, was that for an average person, it can take 9 years to get full citizenship. And I think the understanding that is presented is that, anybody can just come here and do what they want. And that's just not the case.
Standing in line, going through all of those things. So 9 years is the journey, the length of the journey that Anna took. And I think it's something that also stood out as I was listening, not only to Anna's song, but also Stand Tall, were these aspects of celebration combined with a call to action. So Ryan, with your song, Stand Tall, what were you thinking when it came to what should be celebrated, and then what people should be doing now, not just sort of looking at a figure of the past or events of the past?
Yeah, well, I absolutely, wanted to capture the essence of Percy and pay tribute to his legacy and honor, and included some biographical tips of the cap, to some of the work that he's done. And I very much wanted to express that, as well as, a sense of unity and community and peace and, social justice, and really just, providing a call to action in, like you said, in today's times, I know Percy's work is very much still as relevant today as it was back, when he started climbing arches and taking on the Supreme Court and unveiling prophets. So I wanted to just continue in his legacy as somebody who is very passionate about doing social justice work and bring equality and peace, and just knowing that music has the power to heal and the power to transcend things like politics and religion and different world viewpoints and stuff, and really just focus on healing through the power of sound and coming together in a likeness of groove and in a harmonious sense of peace and melodious sense of community. And I really just wanted to be a conduit for loving and peaceful energy, so that we can continue to heal and focus on moving forward together and working all together here in St. Louis, Missouri.
Ryan, you have spoken so much about sort of the spirit of what this work has been. Revé, for you, what has made being part of this group and this effort really exciting and different from other projects that you've worked on?
I think it is the communal aspect. I think that's kind of a guarantee, hopefully, with collaborative work. But the mission has always been the mission. That has been the North Star, that has been the guide, is that we are doing this work not to elevate ourselves, not to puff ourselves up, but really to tell the stories of other individuals, shine a light on organizations, and then look at audience members saying, hey, so what are you going to add to this now, to this pot that we've already started?
Yeah. And as we close here, Colin, your timing is critical in any piece of music. Or in a dramatic production as well. How is the timing of this project's creation and the release of this original music altogether. How's it critical in your view?
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, everyone seems to be getting, for good reason, very fired up about federal elections coming up this year. And I think this was an opportunity for us to kind of lift up some local opportunities to act on our values and create a more just St. Louis, and to give, as you can hear, to give artists an opportunity to act on their values, but also everyday citizens of St. Louis, where we went on June 2nd on Work and Leisure, 3 to 5 p.m. We want people to come who want to learn more about the social justice movement in St. Louis, who want to learn more about the arts community in St. Louis. We're proud to stand at the crossroads of the two, and we want to build connections all around.
Mm-hmm. Colin McLaughlin, Revé, and Ryan Marquez are St. Louis-based musicians who are members and producers of the local music and community activism project, Solid Sound Collective. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. You can get tickets at actionartstl.org. Thank you so much.
This episode was produced by Elaine Shaw.
Our audio engineer is Aaron Dorr. This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
The Gateway brings you the day's news from the St. Louis region and across Missouri. It also includes stories from the Illinois side of the river and our Metro East reporter, Will Bauer.
In Alton, in Belleville, in East St. Louis, in Edwardsville, in Cahokia Heights, at Scott Air Force Base, I'm Will Bauer. St. Louis Public Radio.
Listen to reports from Will and all of our journalists weekdays on The Gateway, on the STLPR app, and wherever you get podcasts.